Happy New Year, everyone! We are back and it is officially 2023. We're kicking off the new year with the perfect topic: opening lines. Stephen King himself said that he spends days, weeks, months, and even years perfecting his opening lines before he feels confident enough to continue writing his stories. So, what I decided to do, since I'm writing a fantasy novel right now, is I went to Penguin Random House's website, scrolled to the young adult fantasy fiction section, and chose some of their books to dissect the opening lines. So, what we're going to do in this video is read them together, share our thoughts and opinions on the opening lines, and then see the techniques that were being used. And hopefully you can get some ideas for your own books, and so can I. Let's get into it. Opening line number 1. The courier was given a single instruction: deliver the boy before the stroke of midnight. The Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. Reading this, I was left with a few questions, which is actually really good. Number 1, who's the boy and what's going to happen at midnight? What do they need him for? Number 2, who does the courier work for? Are they good or evil? And overall, what does the boy have to do with the main character of this book, who's actually a girl? So, as you can see, one of the good techniques to use with an opening line is leaving the reader with a lot of questions. If they're curious, they're going to keep reading, okay? So let's keep that in mind as we continue with the next opening line. Opening line number 2. The story of how I ended up with the Choki Card Tarot Consultancy can be told in 4 detentions, 3 notes sent home, 2 bad report cards, and 1 Tuesday afternoon that ended with me locked in a cupboard. All Are Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue. When I first read this, I was thinking to myself, how did this small child end up in a cupboard? And that's exactly what the author wants. They're telling you what will happen in the story, aka the major plot points, before you've even read the entire novel. So as the reader, your job is to be curious on when this is going to happen and what's leading up to these events. So this is a good technique if you are writing a book that has a lot of absurdity in it or just really strange situations. So I would give this opening line a 10 out of 10, in my humble opinion. Opening line number 3. For a long time, there is only darkness and the sound of distant thunder and the hazy sensation of falling. The Desolations of Devil's Acre by Ransom Riggs. At the beginning of this, you are thinking, oh, the author's describing the weather. How boring. But then he does something very interesting. He gets you with the final word, falling, and you don't know who's falling and from where. So if you want to do something that is seen as maybe a cliche, like describing your setting first before you get to the meat of your story, how are you going to catch the reader off guard and present it in a unique way? But what do you guys think? Is this still kind of mundane, or do you think that he elevated it to another level? Opening line number 4. The bottom of the lake tasted like mud, salt, and regret. 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I actually own this book and I haven't read it yet, but I will say that the opening line did hook me. So one of the good things that the author did is they chose where they wanted you to start the story. The reader is now focused on the main character being at the bottom of a lake. And at the same time, they're combining the setting with an emotion, regret. So the author is promising the reader that this question will be answered. Why is the main character regretful? And did they deserve it? So if you think that this was a good first line, Let me know in the comments, and would you have done it differently? Opening line number 5. Today is the Ritual of Purity, The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I read this book and I own this book. So when you first read the opening line, you are thinking to yourself, oh, that's maybe not that creative. But this is actually a very good technique because you are telling the reader exactly where they are in the story, and better yet, they're already at the main event, which is the Ritual of Purity. So when you are thinking about your first line, sometimes the readers want to know how long is it going to take to get to the fun part of the story. And when you hit them with the first line that says, we're already here, they are satisfied because sometimes readers can be impatient and you just told them they don't have to wait. So I give this one also a really high score. Opening line number 6. I've always been fascinated by candles, A Kata Witch by Needy Okorafor. Now, when you first read this line, it seems almost too simple, like it's not saying a lot. But in reality, it's saying almost too much. What do I mean by that? The author is showing you that the main character has a fascination with candles. And what do candles have? Fire. And the title of the novel has witch in it. And you can only think that a main character who is a witch and has a fascination with candles, aka fire, 1 is probably a pyromaniac, and 2 is a character that you don't want to mess with. But there's an air of discovery in this first line, where the main character probably is unaware of their ability. They are, what you would say, just figuring out who they are. So I definitely think that this is a strong first line that mastered the ability to say a lot without having the first line be multiple clauses. Opening line number 7. My sister is in trouble and I only have minutes to help her. The Soundless by Rachel Mead. So when you first read this, you're kind of scratching your head, like, what do you mean minutes? Normally, when there is a main character that has to rescue another person, they're given a timeline of maybe a week or a month or however long. But here, the main character is stating they only have minutes. So you're wondering, is the sister going to die at this moment? Or is there something mystical happening here where the main character might have some ability to stop time and save them? We don't know. So I think that this is a good first line to have the reader kind of wondering, is this an impossible situation? And if it is, how is the main character going to solve this problem? So if you think this is a good line, let me know. Opening line number 8. So here's the file that almost killed me, director. Illumine by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Now, when you first read this line, you're thinking to yourself, okay, this main character is definitely someone who has a high clearance, but also, what did they do to get this file? So we immediately are starting the story kind of towards maybe the middle or the end, or so it seems, where we're kind of going to be, again, piecing together as the story goes, how they almost died. So it's kind of similar to the Hotel Magnifique, where they tell you what's going to happen before you read the book. So let me know if this was also done well. Opening line number 9. He began his new life standing up, surrounded by cold darkness and stale, dusty air. The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Now, The Maze Runner is a very popular book series that later got turned into a movie, and you can see here that the author decided to do something very strange. Say that the main character is being reborn standing up. And sometimes when you think of reincarnation, you're thinking of someone being reborn into a baby's body. And now the reader's thinking, how can a baby be born standing up? Then you realize it's not a baby, it's a teenage boy, and he is in a situation that the reader wouldn't want to be a part of, and now you have to read the main character go through it themselves. So I definitely think that the author nailed this opening line. Opening line number 10. Okay, answer me this. Why would anyone want to wear an overcoat in San Francisco in the middle of summer? The Alchemist by Michael Scott. So immediately we know that this is dialogue. And one common way that authors will open their stories is with dialogue. And that's to have the readers hear a conversation between two characters that will set the story in motion. So what you can see here is that the main character, or maybe someone speaking to the main character, is really confused as to who this person that stands out is, walking around in San Francisco, a hot climate, with a coat on. So that definitely hooks the reader because we are having a mystery presented to us, and we want to solve this mystery of who the person is and how are they involved in this story. Let me know if this was a good first line for you guys. Well guys, we finished all of the opening lines that I will be sharing in this video. Of course, I focused on young adult fantasy, specifically from Penguin Random House. But if you guys want me to continue doing these videos and you're curious about other genres and other publishing houses, please let me know in the comments below and definitely share your thoughts and opinions on these opening lines. Bye for now!